Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of Sunday Sessions with me, Nick Paninsky. On today's episode, we are talking about the stories that we tell ourselves and the fact that they keep us stuck. Now, I've talked about this previously in the podcast episode, The 4 C's of Success. One of the C's was conversation. So feel free to go back to that episode after this and refresh yourself or dive in if you've not heard it, or listen again. It was a great episode. But today's episode, I want to challenge these perceptions, these beliefs that we have, right? Because I hear the same thing from HR consultants all the time. And it's some sort of variation of, I'm no good at marketing. I don't want to be salesy. I don't want to be pushy. Adverts won't work for me. And here's the thing. None of these stories are true. I mean, they might be true to an extent. They might be true at a certain time. But these blanket statements, we need to challenge these because they're not always the case. They're not always definite. They're not always something that is set in stone. You know, they can be changed. They can be challenged. They can be overcome. So in this episode, we are going to be looking at the beliefs that shape your results and how to start rewriting them. See, I hear the same stories. I'm no good at marketing. I don't want to be salesy. I need another qualification first. Adverts are just gambling. And, you know, I hear these all the time. So let me ask you, do any of these sound familiar? Because if they do, you're not alone. You know, we all have stories that we tell ourselves to help us get through the day, right? You know, if we didn't have these beliefs, we would stop to question every single situation. You know, our brain does a lot of this work for us on autopilot, right? You know, we see a stop sign on the road and we know we have to stop, but it's not like a conscious thought, it's an unconscious thought. It just happens automatically. And these beliefs that we have about needing qualifications, I don't want to be salesy, I don't want to be pushy, etc., these beliefs, they help us live our lives because, as I say, if we had to stop and consider them every time we were doing anything, we wouldn't ever get anything done. But there comes a time where we have to challenge them and get reflective and think, are those beliefs serving me? See, here's the thing, right? Back in the day when I first started adverts, right, I honestly worried. I was very worried. I honestly felt like I was going to give my money away and get nothing in return, right? It's a common belief. It's a common perception. It's a common worry, right? Because there's nothing tangible to grab hold of, right? If I go into a shop and I buy something and I give them my money and I get something back, yeah, if I like it, great, I can keep it, I can see it, I can feel it, and if I don't like it, I can get my money back. And it's the same for everything that you buy, right? If you buy a ticket for a networking event, if you buy some sort of SaaS tool, you are getting something intangible. You're getting something that you understand. But adverts aren't quite the same, right? Adverts are, I'm going to give my money to Facebook, Meta, Instagram, Mark Zuckerberg, Google, whatever, and I might not get anything in return. And I understand that concern because I've had that concern. But once you understand the basics of advert, and once you understand that, okay, if an advert doesn't work, that doesn't mean that we keep pouring money into it. It just means that we need to stop using that advert, right? On my free event that I held recently, I shared an example of an advert that I spent 13 English pounds on and didn't get a single click, a single return on my investment. So do I keep running that advert? No, £13. I've understood now that that advert does not work. And I will never use that advert again. That sits in a folder on my desktop of this advert doesn't work. Whereas the adverts that do work, I pour more money into them, right? I'm going to pour £5 into an advert. If it gets clicks, great. I'm going to throw £10 at it, £15 at it, etc. Whereas if I don't get any clicks, etc., then I stop using that advert. And it's the same for you. Once you start to learn these basics, the fear goes away. I understand, as I say, where that fear comes from. It's the fear of the unknown. It's the fear of perception. But as I say, once you realize that adverts do work, and once you learn some of the basics, which is what we do in Success Squad or Fast Lane Formula, you will realize that adverts work. But enough about all that. Let's talk about thoughts. Let's talk about facts. Let's talk about stories. Now, thoughts are not facts. Thoughts, beliefs, perceptions, etc. They are our perception of the world. They're our paradigm. But that doesn't mean that it's the actual truth. It doesn't mean that it's the golden gospel. It just means that is our perception, right? And these perceptions, these beliefs, these thoughts, they can be rewired, right? So instead of thinking, oh, sales is scary, I don't know what to do, I don't want to be pushy, I understand that. That's a quick answer. If someone says, oh, do you want to do some selling? Like, whoa, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go down that road. It's a quick answer our brain can give so that we can move on with our day. But here's the thing. Selling is a skill. Selling is something you do every day as a HR consultant. When you go and speak to a manager and have to sell your solution, they may not necessarily want to go and have that difficult conversation with their member of staff, but you sell it anyway, right? Because that's the right thing to do. And that manager needs to, they need to do that. They need to grab the bull by the horns, as it were. And selling is exactly the same. It's a skill, and there is a script, and there is a process. And once you get used to it, it becomes a lot easier over time. And marketing, again, marketing might seem daunting, might seem difficult, but that's only because you might be doing it wrong or because someone's told you what to do and they're telling you the wrong thing. But marketing is basically it's psychology. And once you understand a few principles, it stops being a mystery. Once you realize that posting employment laws on updates on LinkedIn isn't going to get you any engagement, but talking to your target audience about the pain that they're going through, that will get some sort of engagement. And once you realize that people aren't interested in facts, they're actually interested in stories, they're actually interested in themselves, they're actually interested in things that keep them up all night. And that's what you need to talk to them about. It's that psychology, people are in pain and they want more pleasure in their life. And that's what you've got to talk to them about. And it's not manipulative because you can help them, right? You just need to make sure that you are saying the right words so that they pay attention. Next up, we've got adverts. Adverts are not gambling. They are maths, and they can be measured and improved. And once you build that pipeline into your business from adverts, you can see, we know because of industry standards, we know what amount of click rate we should get on an advert, what amount of click rate we should get on a landing page, what amount of click rate we should get at the back end, how many clients we should get. And then once we understand the cost per acquisition of a client, let's say, for example, you need to invest, let's say, for example, 50 English pounds to get one client, but that one client will spend, I don't know, let's say £3,000, then you know that you're spending £50 and you know that you're getting £3,000 back, give or take. And then all you do is say, well, I better ramp up those adverts because why would I only spend 50 quid? Why wouldn't I spend £5,000 and get some real return on your investment, right? And as I say, ads are not gambling. So I guess here's the thing for you. This is the point of today's show. What beliefs do you have about marketing and sales? Where do those beliefs come from? Where did those beliefs come from? And are they actually true? And are they actually serving you? Are they helping you to grow the best business, to live the best life? And what would happen if you challenged those beliefs, if you challenged them for, let's say, 30 days? What kind of impact could you have on your life, on your business, all that good stuff? And when I talk about these beliefs about marketing and sales, what about the beliefs for, your life? What about the things that you believe are true about your friends, your family, your neighbors, your life? Challenge those beliefs too, because they may not necessarily be true. So that's, I guess, today's point is challenge those beliefs. Get your journal out. Hopefully you've started journaling, and challenge your beliefs. Write down your beliefs and grab a topic. Let's say marketing, for example. What do you believe about marketing? And then look at challenging those. So that's the message for today, and I hope it's resonated with you, because the stories that you tell yourself, the stories we tell ourselves, they aren't necessarily facts. They're just stories. And the moment you start to challenge those stories, everything starts to shift. Because if you can change the way you think, you can change the way you act. And that changes everything about your business and your life. So thanks for listening along. Hopefully today's episode has resonated. And as it's Sunday, embrace the change, because how we change is how we grow.